Hello, everyone. This is Turning Product Brown here, and today I'm going to be talking about Ezekiel Elliot, star for the Dallas Cowboys of the NFL, and I want to talk about the lawsuit that was filed at the end of last week and his situation involving his dog Ace, which is a Rockwilder, and the legal implications of this lawsuit and what we all can learn from the situation that Mr. Elliott finds himself in. So let me share my screen so that I can show you guys the article, and let's walk through the article. One second. All right. So again, a lawsuit was filed at the end of last week seeking more than $1 million. The plaintiff was one of Mr. Elliott's neighbors, and she says that on May 20th, 2021, she was attacked by one of his dogs, and she also sued a landscaping company. And the fact that she sued the landscaping company leads me to speculate that maybe the landscaping company contributed to Mr. Elliott's dog from escaping from his house. Now, in her lawsuit, she says that she suffered severe and permanent injuries, but she doesn't really detail those injuries. And she's seeking more than $1 million. Now, in order for her case to be worth more than $1 million, the nature of her injury need to be significant. And she's going to need significant medical bills or significant future meds to justify that amount. That being said, as a plaintiff's attorney myself, typically we ask for the moon at the beginning, and we hope to land on the star. So I'm not surprised by the fact that they're seeking more than $1 million, but they would probably be willing to settle for less than that. And so what everyone should be aware of is that, every state has its own laws as they relate to every case. And for dog bites, it's on a case-by-case basis or state-by-state basis. And Texas is a state that goes by what's commonly known as the one bite rule, which means that as a condition for suing a dog owner for a bite, you have to show that the dog owner knew that their dog had a propensity to bite, which means that typically that means that you're going to need to show some evidence that the dog has bitten someone at least once. And on this case, from my brief research via TMZ, it appears that this is Mr. Elliott's third time he's been sued related to the behavior of his Rockwilder, pictured here, Ace, within the last 18 months or so. And so the plaintiff in this case, his neighbors, should have a relatively easy time showing that Mr. Elliott was aware of his dog's propensity to bite. Now, other states have what's known as a strict liability standard, and that's the law in California where I practice. And that means that you don't need to show that the dog bit someone else before. Strict liability means is that if the dog bites another individual, it doesn't really matter why, that dog owner is going to be held to be responsible for that dog bite. So let's go through the prior incidents. So before we get back to, let's go through the prior incidents. So there was a pool cleaner that I think in March of 2020 that said that she was attacked by all three of Mr. Elliott's dogs, including Ace, the Rottweiler, and these were her injuries. And so let's look through her injuries. Warning, these are graphic photos. Yeah, the dog got her pretty good. That looks like, I would assume that that's her forearm. And that's another picture, it appears, of the same arm. That's pretty gruesome. That's pretty bad right there. And then this is inner bruising to her thigh. So it's unclear from the TMZ articles whether or not that lawsuit has resolved, but clearly this woman's been damaged. That scar probably required some level of stitches. She's gonna have a permanent scar the rest of her life. And she may have some emotional injuries as a result of being attacked by those dogs as well. Wage loss, etc. So again, the articles don't get into that level of facts, but that was the first incident. The second incident, his dogs were accused of attacking an employee at a pet spa. Now, again, I don't know the laws in Dallas or in Texas, but this case doesn't sound quite as strong. The facts of the case are basically that his dogs were at this pet resort, and when one of the employees went to enter his dog's kennels to take his dogs out, Ace, the Rottweiler, attacked him, and he suffered injuries as a result. And so he was seeking damages between $250,000 and less than $1 million. Again, it's unclear whether or not this lawsuit is pending, or if this lawsuit has settled. Let's go back to his attorney's statement and the result of it. So I think that what happened since this latest incident, that there was a dog hearing, and basically Mr. Elliot was required to remove his dogs from the county. I believe his attorney made a statement. And so, his attorney basically said that they're not at liberty to discuss the facts. That's just standard. So let me stop sharing my screen a bit. And so it looks like I had one viewer in here live. It's progress more than I had the last time. But so one of the things that typically, let's talk about how these cases are valued. Typically, a case like this is going to be valued depending on what the plaintiff's injuries were. So the more permanent injuries, the more the case is worth. And also, if there's going to be the higher the medical bills, either in the past or in the future, the more the case is worth. At this point, at least for this latest lawsuit where they're seeking more than $1 million, it's been less than 6 months since the incident. So it's probably not clear the level of how permanent her injuries are. And the complaint was pretty silent on what exactly their injuries are. Now, I don't think this is typical. Typically, most plaintiff's attorneys, if the defendant is not famous, most plaintiff's attorneys would wait till their client's done treating and wait till they got reports from their client's doctors stating that the injuries were going to be permanent in nature. Normally, that's not going to be determined within a couple months. Usually that's going to take some time. And after that happens, usually they submit a demand letter to the insurance company. And it appears based upon Mr. Elliott's attorney's response that it didn't appear that they ever received a pre-lit demand. So a pre-litigation demand means demand that was filed before the lawsuit with the insurance company. And that doesn't appear to happen here. And so, but like, let's say generally, like, let's say that this latest case, the lady lost her arm. Clearly, the case is worth more than $1 million. Let's say that she lost a significant portion of the skin in her arm, which required a skin graft. That may be worth high six figures, maybe low seven figures, depending on the facts of the case, who she is, and what other, not just physical scars, but mental scars resulted from that type of injury. So, but the one thing that usually happens is that most cases settle without a lawsuit. Like I think here in California, I think it's over 90% of personal injury cases settle without having to file a lawsuit. But anytime plaintiff's attorneys usually get a claim against a famous person, creates a likelihood that it will be filed in court, from my experience. And so let's talk about what we all can learn from this. Most people that are going to watch this aren't going to be famous. I'm not famous. But what can we do as dog owners to protect ourselves from potential liability? And the first thing is make sure you have insurance and that your insurance covers this type of incidents if you own a home. So if you're a homeowner and you own a dog, you need to look at your insurance policy to see if it covers dog bites. Now, from my experience, not all homeowners insurance covers all dog bites. There's some insurance that excludes certain type of dogs, like pit bulls, potentially Rottweilers, or Doberman pinschers. So if your dog is a quote unquote aggressive breed, your insurance policy may exclude that, which means that if you got sued, you would have to pay out of your own pocket those damages. So that's one thing for you to look for, is if you're a homeowner, make sure that that is covered. That'd be very important, especially if you own a dog that is stereotypically more aggressive. So that's one thing to consider. If you're a renter, you can look into renter's insurance. I'm not as familiar with renter's insurance or whether or not it would cover dog bites, but generally speaking, you can almost buy insurance for any type of incident. And so if you do have a certain amount of type of dog and you do have a certain level of assets, it may behoove you to inquire with your insurance broker or an online insurance company about how much that would cost and whether or not that's something that you would be able to obtain. Because having insurance, like if Mr. Elliot has insurance, he's not going to have to pay anything out of his pocket besides his deductible. So if his deductible is $1,000 or $2,000, that's all he's going to have to pay, even though the plaintiff's attorneys are attempting to essentially embarrass him by filing these lawsuits when they probably could have resolved these cases without having to file a lawsuit. That's the first thing. The second option is that explore getting a breed of dog that's not considered aggressive, because it's less likely that you may have your dog bite your neighbor, your person cleaning your pool, or any other guest. And so, again, I'm not a dog expert, and I think that Mr. Elliott's issues here are the result of maybe his insufficient ability to be a good dog dad and a good dog owner, and not the dog itself. So I think that I don't believe the concept that there are quote unquote aggressive breeds or that there are bad breeds. And so I think that there's bad dog owners, and that Mr. Elliot, if he knows that his dog has had the propensity to bite people, he needed to ensure and use his resources to get his dog the proper training so that didn't happen, or have the proper setup within his house or on it, because he doesn't have a house, probably in a state, his property, that his dog can have the proper enclosures to protect his neighbors and the general public. And so, but if someone doesn't have that experience as a dog owner or a dog trainer, the easier option is just to get a different breed, right? So if his dogs were some poodles, it would be a lot less likely that TMZ would be sensationalizing these lawsuits, in my opinion. The third thing that we can learn from this is that dogs need, if you get certain breeds are going to need more training, and or you need to create a scenario within your house, or if you're Mr. Elliot, your property, estate, your mansion, whatever, that would limit the access that your dogs would have to the general public, particularly when you know you're having guests come over, either someone cleaning your pool, your gardener, to make sure that your dogs are locked up and that they can't be let out. Now, in this case, we don't know all the facts. It could have been a scenario that his neighbor's suing the landlord or the landscaping company because the landscaping company let the dogs out without the permission of Mr. Elliot. If that's this scenario, Mr. Elliot wouldn't be entirely responsible for the incident. He would have what's called comparative negligence, but he would share in the fault for the incident with the landscaping company if the landscaping company indeed let the dogs out. So it'll be interesting to see if more facts come out on a lot of these cases. I find that the discovery means the written questions that are presented from one side to the other is usually kept in-house, and that these cases settle, and it'll settle without a deposition. And so any information that we'll get usually will be a dismissal of the case or an announcement that a confidential settlement has been reached. And we won't know the terms of that settlement, but I hope for everyone involved that this case is able to resolve. I hope that Mr. Elliott's dog, Ace in this case, gets the proper training and care that he needs and has a setup that'll allow him to thrive and not have to worry about potentially being put down for these bites, because every city and every county has different laws about whether or not they put down dogs at the bite. I hope that for Mr. Elliot, he learned from this, and that again, that he as a dog owner either learns how to train the dog himself, or he uses his vast resources to bring in the best dog trainers in the area to train his dog. And I hope that for the plaintiff in this case, that the plaintiffs, quite honestly, in the multiple cases, the lady that we saw the dog bites that cleaned his pool and his neighbor, I hope that they recover from their injuries. I would imagine that this is an extremely traumatic experience where your skin is being ripped open, and that in the moment they probably felt like they were fighting for their life. And so there's going to be some mental scars there. And so it's something that ultimately, even if the case settles, even if they get $250,000 or $1 million or $2 million, that there's some permanent damage here. And I hope that all the parties can heal. But at this point, I would like to know what your thoughts are in the comments. I like all the comments, whether they're good, bad, ugly. If you love my takes or if you hate my takes, please comment. I'm trying to respond to most comments. And so if you think that people are preying upon Mr. Elliot, leave a comment. If you think that Mr. Elliott's a horrible dog owner, leave that comment. So, I only know what I know, but I just think that, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I think that's the saying. So I almost used the George Bush clip that J. Cole used in one of his songs. Anyway, I'm rambling. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. I'm trying to produce more content. I'm trying to figure out this video editing thing and take the time to, when I don't go live, give you guys videos, not just with my opinion, but with like the proper visuals to make it a more enjoyable experience. Thank you so much. Salute to you guys. Appreciate you.